Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pondering Skulls podcast. My name is Bree, and Mo is not here with me tonight, but she will be here next time. She has school tomorrow, so she couldn't be here tonight. So today I have for you the last 3 parts of the I'm an Evil Doll, but I am not the problem story. So hopefully you enjoy this, and I'll see you at the end. Leo works diligently at the locks, holding the 5 prisoners. Thankfully, no words or runes are inscribed on them. That being said, the bit of wire he stripped with his teeth makes a poor lockpick. The entity dragging itself down the hall takes its time, taunting Leo. Timbers creak as the massive thing spews threats and vitriol. Leo is starting to scare me. It isn't just the look on his face. As the thing beyond the door gets closer, it's everything about him. If I had a pulse to race, it would be. Being okay with dying for a cause is one thing, but staring down a violent death miles away from making any kind of difference, that's scary as hell. More so if I'm the only person with their wits about them. One lock pops open. The chained victim has no idea what to make of the situation, simply dashing towards the window. "Don't," Leo says. I'm given the tiniest sliver of hope by his commanding tone. "There are at least 3 armed lunatics down there with itchy trigger fingers. You'll be dead before you hit the ground." "What's the matter, Leo? Things not going according to plan? You started this little ruse off by shitting your pants. Now it looks like you're shitting the bed." The entity taunts with an obnoxiously long, phlegmatic laugh. Leo has to close his eyes. He takes a deep breath, putting enough effort into keeping his cool. Veins start to rise on his neck. His voice doesn't waver, his shaking stops. If it wasn't for the fact his heart rate and pulse were displayed in my vision, I'd assume he actually pulled himself together. He's not okay, but he's doing a damn fine impression. The second lock pops open quicker than the first, releasing a middle-aged woman with large green eyes that seem out of place in this ugly situation. "A sin eater is a bad person or thing that through a ritual takes away bad shit you've done," Leo begins, opening the 3rd lock nearly instantly. "Don't ask me why it has to eat them, but it is what it is. That thing out there is the opposite of that. It spews out your hidden shit, flesh and blood consequences of every mistake you've made." The 4th lock opens. The crowd listens raptly to Leo, who looks to them, picking the last lock without looking. I understand something then. I know it's cheating when I can see what's going on via arcane technology, but it still requires interpretation. People like Leo, they aren't just stronger, faster, or more capable of wielding the occult. It isn't just the physical battle or even the mystical one. Both Leo's kind and the malignant wield influence. They have a nuanced way of controlling emotion and faith. And this isn't taking into account its massive bastard like a minibus with a torture kink. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. If it gets in, we're fucked. We have backup, but at this point, I don't know if they're coming. I can't promise you a happy ending, but once it works up the balls to stick its face in, me and Teddy Ruxpin here will buy you every second we can. As Leo talks, the air is charged. It's a small, pale thing compared to the overwhelming dark energy of the bishop's house, but it's something. I don't even have to mock that sad little war cry. I wager if I offer a softer fate, I get at least one of your little band to come out of their own free will. I know what you're doing, Leonard. It won't work. The vomitorium. Okay, I think I might be getting good at this naming things now, says, inching closer. Leo looks out the window when he mumbles, "Fuck." I assume Flap is still MIA. The tension is thick. The victims keep looking at me. I can tell they think I'm just another random horror here to kill them. I can feel that it's making them distrust Leo. "Leonard, if you don't come out here, I'm going to show you something new," the vomitorium says, almost crooning. The door suddenly tears itself free from the hinges. The victims scream. Leo is startled but stands firm. It's not the door holding him back, but it's the ward. He's just trying to get in your heads. We know it's going to get bad, you dick-shaped asshole. Let's get on with things, Leo taunts. None of the sensors I've been equipped with can quite measure it, but whatever battle of will is going on between the entity and the hero starts to intensify. They're both part of it. This is just some kind of way to fuck with us. Look at that thing. You idiots are playing right into their hands. A ginger man with one eye nearly swollen shut says. I can almost visibly see the impact of the statement has on Leo. His mojo begins to wane. Leo stumbles on how to reply. The other 4 victims become unsure. I stomp over to the man, letting all of the lethal blades and spines on my body whir and rattle. I've deflated, for the lack of a better term, back to the height of a toddler. But I have the man's attention. JP be damned. If I ever meet my creator, I'm calling out the fact the sole form of communication she gave this proxy is creepy repetition. What I say next would have sounded a lot more convincing without all the Max Headroom meets deepfake crap. I was made to kill children. I've done some awful things so far, but haven't crossed that particular bridge yet. If I don't, it will be because of Leo. If you 5 get out of here, it will be because of him. I get it. You were thrown face first into horror, never given time to understand or adapt, and now you need to try and figure things out. But the really scary shit, you can't predict. Coming up with a random conspiracy about the only person between you and whatever is in the hallway, that's just being human. But it's also going to get all of us killed. As I talk, I see a lot of confusion but no disbelief. The vomitorium laughs. Good save. Thought things were going to get interesting there for a minute. Guess I'll have to make my own fun, the creature says before making a horrendous gagging noise. I can see the terror hidden behind Leo's hardened demeanor. He checks the window and curses again. With an amniotic-like burst of disgusting flotsam-ridden fluid, 2 human forms slide across the floor. At first I think they're corpses, judging by the fact everyone with a nose in the room is gagging. The smell is about right. But slowly, the 2 begin to rise. At first, indistinct, filth-ridden human-shaped things. But quickly, they turn into a woman in her 50s and a boy of about 12, both sharing a strong family resemblance to Leo. Your brother left, Lenny, off with that uncle of ours, and you went chasing after the priest. We were as strong as a family. That's how heroes work. Your brother hurt the family, but you killed it. Her voice hits Leo like a sledgehammer. From the outside, what she's saying seems trite, especially coming from something Leo knows damn well is some kind of projection or mimic. But there are forces at play no sensor can gauge. To Leo, despite all evidence to the contrary, the woman standing in front of him is his mother. The crowd's flickering flame of hope begins to falter, the shell-shocked look and fresh tears on Leo's face not exactly inspiring confidence. Horror doesn't have to be blood and guts. I know it's a tired old cliche, but I'll be honest, seeing Leo broken to this point is as terrifying as anything I've seen. If it's a cliche, so be it. Our death isn't peaceful, Lenny. You've made so many enemies, we just want to rest. Leo's mother wails, her tone dripping accusation. My mind races, sensors throwing indecipherable data at me as I try and do something to try and stop this. It's that, Leo stutters. Whatever mojo the hero had is nearly spent. The situation becomes grim. Leo himself is near his breaking point. My vision stutters, erratic random noises coming from the speaker within the proxy. For a brief second, I feel whatever powers this abomination I'm trapped in shut down. When my sight returns, I see text flashing across it. Guess I was wrong about no sensor being able to detect things. Anomaly detected. I can't help but think, no shit, as the red text starts to flash, then fade, then change. Anomalous energy. analyzed. The understanding hits me like a wave, almost too much to absorb on a conscious level. But two things are clear. Number one, we are not killing the vomitorium. Number two, I can help Leo. I see the battle of will as clear as day. In a black void of hatred and evil, small silver strands are being torn apart like spider webs in a hurricane. I walk forward, putting myself between Leo and the vomitorium's creations. I put my faith in the woman who made me, and whatever combination of programming and rituals is guiding me towards this insane plan. You've been going at that word for about 10 minutes now. Jesus Christ, it took the catatonic guy too. I get that you're coming in, but fuck me, getting killed by someone this bad at their job? That's just undignified. As I spout this taunt, I'm glad for the speaker. The tone is harsh and confident, a brutal combination of the speech the proxy has recorded. The mimics stop their mental torture. The room goes silent. I feel like every set of eyes in the world is on me. Those silver threads then hold still for a moment in the gale of evil. Can you do anything else? Honestly curious. See, I'm basically a Swiss Army knife, and from what I've been told, I'm a hunk of shit made by an idiot. So don't tell me how hard you're trying to seem like some kind of Lovecraft god. All you have is bulk and guilt. There's silence for a moment, then a laugh. It's small, quick, and comes from a man so badly beaten he's going to need reconstructive surgery. The threads stop dissolving. I could show you sights that would rust your steel, as well as your mind, little toy, the vomitorium says, dragging itself close enough to the doorway I can see claws and the barest suggestion of a form. With every new piece of data, our situation seems worse. That thing seems more powerful, but I don't stop, and as I talk, I notice something. A buried piece of programming starts to release the smallest amount of vapor from one of the tubes. A tiny, scentless puff of vapor wafts through the room. In quantity, it likely puts someone out, maybe even a room full of people, but the nearly homeopathic amount the proxy dispenses makes the victims calm and suggestible. Don't threaten me with a good time. Have fun explaining to me whoever the hell it is you puke up, though. Fractured memories are where I live. As I try and buy us some time, I see a tiny bit of focus return to Leo. He looks to me and smirks. Mixed with his fear and pain is a look of curiosity. Start tying bed sheets, curtains, cords, anything. Worst comes to worst, take your chances down there. If backup comes, it'll be easier to get out without broken ankles, the hero whispers. When Leo talks next, I see those strands start to grow slightly. From here on out, I'm not going to keep giving the play-by-play on the new sensor, just the highlights. I think you guys get the gist. You know what this guy really is, Punch? He's not a demon. Hell, he's not even a malignant. We are looking at a legitimate closet monster. Most entities are known for their cunning, or their power. These fucking things, though, let me tell you, if you wrote short man syndrome into something's DNA, that'd be a closet monster. It's why so many of them get killed before they get any bigger than a loaf of bread. Last time I checked the numbers, 1 in 10 kids has actually killed one. They can be anywhere, but honestly, who cares? It's why when, by some goddamn miracle, one actually makes it long enough to be a threat, they get so mean. I almost get it. Big fella, how many cousins of yours died before you failed upwards? The rage from the closet monster, thanks for ruining my branding, Leo, is a tangible thing. Paint peels, wood splinters, and it throws itself face first into the ward. Gray flesh and dead doll-like eyes, a big mouth, big enough to swallow a grown man in the rough shape of a doorway. The creature drools foul liquid from its square-toothed maw. The victims scream, their resolve almost broken by the sight of things to come. That hit a nerve, didn't it? You were talking about how you could get one of these people to walk out on their own? Or as I like to call it, the played-out villain special? Let's flip that around. I say one of these fine folks would sacrifice themselves for the good of the rest of us. See, I burn souls like nitrous, Night Slug, and maybe that's all I need to get out of here, I lie. That part of me, full of intent, is still on the other end of the city. I have no urge to hurt any of these people, and if I did, I'd get nothing out of it more than horrifying memories. I bank on the closet monster not knowing this, and the gamble works. His focus is on Leo and myself. He doesn't notice the other victims tossing a homemade rope anchored to a dresser out the window. The creature mutters curses in a dozen different languages as it redoubles its efforts on the ward. The energy of the barrier begins to flicker and fade. The closet monster grins. Leo looks out the window, his face brightens. Go, 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 he screams to the victims. No way, look at that thing out there, the green-eyed woman says. The ward is seconds away from failing, but I take a moment to look out the window. The thing in question is Flap, each hand buried in a severed head of a cult member. He waves the grim trophies like an air traffic control torches. Do you want an explanation or do you want to leave? Fucking move, Leo screams. The words have a commanding force that has nothing to do with their volume. Mountain climbers, the victims are not, but they are more than willing to get a sprained ankle or blood-dripping rope burn to make sure they all get down as quickly as possible. They are still climbing when the ward fails. The closet monster's seeming endless bulk snakes its way slowly into the room, as if to make it clear that the victims were never the concern. Leo's trying his damnedest to get things together, but cracks show in the stone-faced demeanor. He draws the pistol from before. It looks like a paltry toy when faced with a horror dragging itself closer to us. We back toward the window, still 2 victims left. The last man is in horrible shape. I don't like our chances. As I think this, I realize accepting your fate isn't the panacea for fear it's made out to be. If I can get these people out of this slice of hell, whatever happens to me is worth it. At least in some sense, I've balanced out the karmic scales a little. But that doesn't mean I'm looking forward to how fate plays out. What Leo failed to mention, my foul-mouthed little novelty, is that my kind are excellent flesh smiths. I will make you two one creature that begs for death but is terrified of the release. You will be an abomination, my plaything for longer than you could possibly understand. There isn't a hint of exaggeration in the threat. The last victim hits the ground running. Leo could take the rope down, but even dropping halfway, this thing would have me by then. Go, Leo says, pointing the cheap pistol at the thing. He's already had to have the "and I mean go" conversation once tonight. I don't make him have it again. The proxy wasn't made for acrobatics, but this rope wasn't made to last. But I won't let Leo's sacrifice be in vain. I give the man one last look before I take the straining rope. The sound is like a thunderclap, and in an instant, I think to Leo in the bathroom, the strange prayer, the smell of fresh blood. That pistol, the cheap, likely stolen and misused machine, fires much faster than it was ever made to. The projectiles hit with more force than is possible, blowing dinner plate-sized chunks out of the monster, and Leo has fired well over 30 shots from the 8-round clip before he slams another one home. The entity is hurt, enraged, and stunned. Leo throws the pistol out the window, its white-hot barrel instantly igniting a patch of grass. He's running full force, clearly expecting me to already be down the rope. Our descent is a tangled, painful thing, the rope slowing it just enough to escape broken legs and servos. That won't be anything more than a distraction, Leo says, panting as we both begin a limping jog away from the bishop's house. The creature stares at us from behind a half-curtained window. At first I question why it's not just coming after us, but I think back to JP explaining how hard it is to cover up very obvious things. Aren't you coming? I ask Flap, the massive bird-like thing standing in shadows gnawing on a leg. Got some unfinished business here. Tell Hob I'll catch up, Flap answers. We make it to JP, waiting a couple of blocks away. There hasn't been many upbeat moments since I started this, but relaying our escape and getting those people out, it felt good. Where's Flap? Hive asks a few hours later. I've put myself back into what I sadly think of as my real body. The dark thoughts are an unwelcome guest. I told you. He said he had some things to take care of, Leo says impatiently, clearly being uncomfortable around Hive. Thank you for making sure we all are so well informed, the small toy-like malignant says sarcastically. Leo has been arguing with JP and Sveta about leaving. Kaz and I, on the other hand, want to be on the first plane out. For Christ's sakes, Leo, it's not just you. If you stay, sooner or later, things are going to be traced back here. Then it's my ass. This isn't a request, JP says, tone giving no room for debate. The conversation devolves into the kind of vulgar that can only be achieved by friends who have known each other for much too long. Right about as things were getting to people's mothers, JP's phone begins to ring. He angrily puts up a finger to silence Leo. Shut the fuck up, this is probably a paying customer. Hello? JP's face drops. He puts down the phone and hits speaker. Hive, you there? I hear Flap. The line is distorted. I can hear traffic in the background. Yes, of course I am. You should be too, Hive responds. That's the thing. I shouldn't be. And neither should you. We've spent so long pissing about the mortals and things that vainly call themselves horrors. I get it. Our kind has been anything but welcoming. But look at yourself. You were siding with a hunter and a graysmith. I'm done with this, Hive. And with every bit of my will, I hope you are as well. The sinister but heartfelt words coming in Flap's grating, comical tone makes the implication all the more terrifying. Fuck, I told you. We don't go working with the goddamn malignant. Leo screams at JP. I have nothing to do with this betrayal, Hive says defensively. The hell you didn't, JP accuses. The argument turns to chaos. Flap's laughter cuts through the din. Oh well, I tried. We've grown too close to the meat, Hive. We began to feel like 'em. Tonight is my first step towards purging that weakness. It's been a slice, Hive says. Words become exhausted. Every insult has been thrown. Every accusation laid bare. All the while Flap taunts us with threats of the bishop's power and promises of his mercy. A few seconds of silence is broken by Leo throwing a vase in a fit of impotent rage. Injury and mental fatigue make his aim poor. Instead of exploding against a wall, it shatters a living room window. The noise of the splintering glass is a cacophony, a signal flare of a person who refuses to accept his fate. Everyone's blood runs cold when we hear it again, a fraction of a second later through JP's speakerphone. The six of us walk over to the now shattered bay window and we see it. Nothing that would stand out at first, just average cars parked on an average street. Maybe at worst it seemed like a handful of relatives visiting a dozen homes. But then, many of the cars start to flick their lights on and off. Slowly, perfectly in unison. We're going to get to know each other very closely over the next few weeks, Kinder. Hope you're comfy. The bishop's voice says through the phone before the line disconnects. What's going on? I ask, understanding the basics but nothing more. It's going to be a siege. They're likely tapping into my wards as we speak. It's the smartest move, makes things slow, low, and quiet. Starve us out. This is what I was afraid of. This is what you can do in numbers. Can't call the cops. They can cause all kinds of shit. And it's not illegal to sit in your car with some rock salt and silver shavings. Can't just call the cops called here, because as you may have noticed, this place basically made the ATF and FDA felonies. If they catch us trying to go get food, they have plenty of psychopaths willing to go to prison. Fuck me, fuck us, JP says barely above a whisper. And that's where things stand. staring down a supernatural siege with nothing but my friends and you guys. I don't know what we can do to pull through this time, but at least all of us are here, right? Let me know your ideas in the comments. Punch. The building was used to death even before Pi took it over, but the level of violence and chaos occurring was a step beyond anything previously contained in those blood-stained walls. I want to apologize to you fine people. I'm not an evil doll, and historically, often, I have been the problem. I know, I'm spitting in the face of truth in advertising, but please, indulge me. Who I am is someone who can provide an outside perspective, both figuratively and literally. An outside perspective is required when Michael is involved. But at the moment, my identity isn't important. I applaud both those of you observant enough to have the answer already, but if not, I wouldn't worry about it. What's important now is the wound-covered hand, holding an ichor-dripping keycard inches away from a small black reader. Mike is hurting. To be quite frank, the man could be accurately described as dying. Nothing crippling at the moment, but the human body can only take so many blows before starting to break in places an improvised tourniquet or battlefield stitching can't help. And make no mistake, our boy Michael is nothing more than human. Sure, he's wrapped in the guise of something evil, something unknowable, but that is all it is. Obfuscation. Michael isn't powerful, strong, brave, or even all that clever. He's interesting to some point, at best, and that's coming from one of the closest people to him. It isn't nerves of steel that drive him to unlock the cells. It isn't even altruism. Truth be told, it was this or death. Michael had run through every bauble in his gifted bag of tricks, and still found himself near death and trapped with two of the guards. The tortured, mutilated man watches as things he thought were regulated to horror films and urban legends take their first free steps in decades. If they knew what released them was nothing more than human, he'd have been an appetizer before the main course. But like everyone so inclined, when this legion of creatures tried to sense what the clown it was, they came up blank. When the choice is revenge on your captors or a struggle with the unknown, no one picks the second option. When Michael sees what has become of the warehouse floor, he's more than scared. His entire perspective has changed. So far, you lot have seen things from the point of view of those for whom the paranormal is old hat, or integral to their being. Those of us so blessed have an innate ability to parse the senseless, to deal comfortably with the nature of the supernatural. But those sons of Adam, daughters of Eve, the multitude that make up humanity, they're not so lucky. It takes its toll on the body and mind, like a sick kind of radiation. It makes a person twisted, strange, and in long term, a corpse. Mike gives up on finding a way out. The display of power, Pi's warping of space and time is beyond him. One could argue fatalism and blind optimism are two sides of the same coin. One understands the future, one ignores it. Mike flips that coin as he sees the chaotic scrum of violence. And as always, for the one-time vigilante, or serial killer depending on your view of things, that coin lands on its edge. Blood drips down his abdomen when he looks to the source he sees beyond flesh and fat. A deep cut missed opening his stomach, but lacerated his chest, so deeply he could see a small sliver of his own rib. His face is a mask of lunatic glee, but it's an act. Inside, he's horrified at the thought of his own mortality. If Michael was a clever man, he'd ask for help from the one friend he has in this corner of reality. Unfortunately, our mutilated would-be hero is stubborn. His plan is born of desperation and fear, more the drunken ramble of a schizophrenic than anything approaching tactical acumen. He figures if he can't find his way through the maze, he might as well try and slay the Minotaur. There have been people, historically, who went up against demons and came away the victor. It's pretty much the most of point of religious text. But Michael is not that man. He's not blessed, and certainly not pure. So our friend wades into the carnage on his way to slay dragons while hoping deep down he's tilting at windmills. The man looks small compared to the things dealing death around him. The entities trying to slay or ensnare the rioting prisoners of all types. But he begins to feel the ebb and flow of this unnatural disaster. What little cunning and guile he has finds opportunity in carnage. At this point, many of you may be asking, how can one man survive something like this? I have your answer. It comes in two parts. First, maybe he doesn't. Maybe at some point Michael make one wrong decision too many and winds up with a blade in his back. There's no twist where that vulgar jester is capable of writing this kind of prose. Second, what you're ignoring are the millions of determined, able individuals willing to spit in the face of fate that were turned into pulp by some horror lurking in the shadows. You don't hear their stories because they have none. What Michael does isn't really combat, it's theater. It's violence by way of professional wrestling. Michael's plan doesn't survive first contact with the enemy. To coin an old phrase, first contact with the enemy forms it. A lanky being, gray-skinned and pierced by rusted barbs of steel, sees the man, and lack of aura or no, decides to vent its rage in Michael's direction. The clown is blindsided. The masochistic entity grabs him by the ill-fitting suit jacket and tosses him like a rag doll. If you heard it from the horse's mouth, it'd be a 10,000-word, nearly chlorophyllic rant. But let me save you from that. Michael isn't a clown-themed killer. He's a professional clown, who was forced to fight and damned to lose. As such, he manages to minimize the impact of the brutal throw. That being said, he makes it look nearly fatal. Michael stumbles away into the crowd, the newly freed abomination following close behind. In its hate, it slams into something holding back a determined but doomed group of human rioters. The massive, asymmetrical humanoid howls in rage and backhands the steel-skewered supernatural stalker. New blood is thin, and the lanky, gibbering entity squirms in pain on the ground, broken bones tearing at bruised organs. It doesn't see Michael break his way from the rapidly devolving melee, nor the two-handed blow that caves in the side of its face. But others do, and that was the point. They didn't see the lucky accident that truly put the pierced paranormal peon down. Just this blood-soaked man dispatching something that goes bump in the night with ease. Mike isn't a warrior, he's a performer. One who can shape a narrative, give some kind of meaning to bloodshed and violence. And this is how he makes his way around the warehouse. Sneaking, hiding, and taking credit for work nearly completed. But cracks are starting to show. The clown is panicked. He can't find what he's looking for, and with the way the warehouse is twisting its own dimensions, he knows it may not even exist. Light-headed from blood loss, toes broken on bare feet, Michael collapses near a row of lockers stained with blood and gore. No one around to see it but myself, so the man drops the mask. There's only so long a performer can perform. Screams of the dying, howls of the rage, gunfire, all of this means nothing to him. Tears wash down small furrows of grime and blended awful from his face. These aren't the maniac sobs of someone disconnected from reality. No, fate is far too cruel to break Michael's mind. It merely bends it to an excruciating degree. He thinks back to a time where his biggest worry was if his pilot for a clown show for the new millennium would be picked up. It wasn't. It's a stupid thought, but it drives home the scale and horror of his situation. He's racked with shivering sobs of fear, grief, and regret. He'd give up if he wasn't scared of the implications of dying somewhere a demon seemed to be making home. But no good deed goes unpunished, and there is no rest for the wicked. Mike concentrates, clearing his eyes and thoughts, forcing himself to put one foot in front of the other. Michael may not know a thing about the void or its spawn, but architecture was required learning for his post-entertainment career, and there was enough logic and reason left in the design of the building for the clown to find what he was looking for. Much like sewer pipes, most air ducts are far too small for a person to crawl through, but serving corridors are a necessity for any industrial building. Paranormal or not, things break. It's cramped, dark, and reeking, but luckily for Mike, unoccupied. His back and shoulders scream with every bump of the claustrophobic maze-like series of hallways and ladders. One foot has started to go numb, nerves being twisted and compressed by fractured bones. He ignores the architectural impossibilities and keeps putting one foot in front of the other, hoping the dust-covered etched steel maps and markers still hold some weight. He doesn't know if it's been hours or minutes, but Michael hears something, a soft, erratic scuttling noise. He stops, tensed like a coyote, dim emergency lights giving no clue as to the source of the sound. Mike moves low, hunched, almost to the point of crawling. He stops randomly, listening. He doesn't like what he hears. But the cavern-like maintenance tunnels warp the noise. Michael cannot pinpoint it. Tense minutes of moving at a snail's pace, Mike's blood loss starts to concern him as much as whatever is in here. A blind corner and a drifting mind puts him mere feet from the thing. To the uninitiated, Michael included, the creature, with its vaguely human, almost childlike face, 12 hand-like legs and no body to speak of, may seem like the creation of a necromancer or mad scientist. But the 80-pound thing is simply one of the many random, senseless things the universe has decided to spawn at one point or another. Whether it was an employee or prisoner of Pi no longer matters. The travesty in the warehouse has gone beyond sides. It's simply about survival. Mike makes eye contact. He thinks he sees something there, some spark of intellect, and takes a chance. He steps back, leaving the thing a clear path. Kind of a shitstorm back that way, he whispers. Give a man an excuse to kill, and most will. Give him a reason not to, most won't. Both parties share a moment of tension before the two survivors go their separate ways. Michael continues his death march, every passing minute making him more sure the maps and markers are meaningless. Eventually, though, after pushing screaming joints and muscles through a genuine vent, barely big enough to accommodate him, he slowly lowers himself into the hallway before Pi's office. Mike's blood falls like rain, letting the two guards, men dressed in their 40s, in black jeans and blue button-up shirts, know something is afoot. Contortionism and acrobatics are second nature to Mike. Despite fractures and torn muscles, his descent is measured, attention-grabbing. The deadpan relaxation of the two would have tipped off most that they were more than just men. In fact, they were more status symbol than last line of defense. What was behind the door they guarded needed no defense. Ghouls, one of the oldest kinds of void touched. Out of the 200 or so left in the world, 2 stood watch over Pi's door. There were plenty of more powerful creatures in Pi's employ, but few were so rare. Had Michael known this, he would have understood the futility of throwing 2 scavenged blades into their chests, and he would have avoided wasting time with the next 2 blades that buried themselves harmlessly to the hilt in the ghoul's skulls. These are not zombies, shambling creations using human flesh and bone to spread disease. These are those that have been abandoned by death, bound permanently to impermanent forms. The ghouls remove the knives from each other, grinning with blackened teeth and falling upon Michael. It's a slow and ponderous affair. The clown is wounded. The ghouls move in a trudging fashion, but with purpose. It's a war of attrition, one that Mike can't win. Though he doesn't need to. He has no way of killing the creatures, his cane having no effect beyond its mass. But Mike adapts, crushing joints, arm, and leg bones, and leaving the two immobile. In time, bones will set, but at the moment, the ghouls can do no more than drag themselves toward the clown. But the effort wasn't without its cost. Michael stands nearly shirtless, makeshift stitches burst, broken bones screaming for relief. With the door so close, he wishes he was seeing red, but all he's seeing is black spots. It's beyond him to put on that lunatic mask. Every step is agony, every breath driving fragments of bone into organs. Fear stays his hand inches from the doorknob. He thinks of how easy it would be just to sit down, let nature take its course, avoid the worst fate on the other side of the door. Spite makes him turn the knob. He sees Pie, formal suit, hands folded behind his back, watching the carnage. "Come in, Mike. Have a seat," Pie says calmly. This is Michael's only chance, and he knows it. One shot to bury the cane in the demon's skull and hope for the best. Fear makes his hands sweat. The cane feels slippery. "You've given me a lot of time to think about what I'd do when I got a one-on-one," Mike begins, walking towards Pie. He coughs. A thin mist of blood stains the demon's desk. You like to talk a lot how the used car salesman looks just like some proxy, no more than an appendage of your true form. Makes it seem kind of pointless to fight you." Michael draws closer, heart racing. He banks on Pie's ego, letting him know within striking range. "I knew you were a smart one," Pie replies simply. Mike misses the wicked smile on his face. "Give it a minute." Then I started to think. "You know why mechanics use tools? No one wants to lose an appendage." Mike puts all his effort into a two-handed strike, but it's a blow that never falls. Michael is frozen, held fast in an absolute sense. He begins to hover a few inches off of the floor as Pie turns to face him. You can see Pie's otherworldly nature much more now. Features that aren't quite human, eyes like black pits full of the universe's worst secrets. "You thought catching me off guard would do it? Don't know who put that old wives' tale out there, but I think I owe them a dinner. I can warp time and space, you dolt. I can hear your neurons firing. Come on, man," Pie taunts. "Neat little speech you had, though. Could have used a bit of work toward the end." Mike begins to panic. Never before had he felt so helpless, so in over his head. "You can't kill me. You need what's in my head," he pleads. No trace of his devil-may-care tone. Pie laughs. The sound echoes through the small room. "Dial that back a notch. What's in your head is very profitable to me if I can get it to come out and play. That being said, there comes a point where the bullshit that goes with it outweighs the profit. Now, while I'm getting a real kick of watching the meat slug it down out there, I've got to admit, it's pretty expensive. So now, I cut my losses, and see who wants to see what they can find poking around in your corpse." Pie replies. A pressure begins to weigh on Mike from every angle. Bones protest with audible creaking. Blood begins to trickle from the clown's ears. "If I die, he dies," Mike asserts incorrectly. "Seems like you two knew each other." Mike's ploy gets another burst of derisive laughter. "Yeah, but who really gives a fuck about old Demi? Big ego probably would have been like pulling teeth to get him to sign up for the cause anyways. You've played your last card, bozo. This is where fucking around where you don't belong gets you," Pie says as the pressure around Mike begins to turn fatal. "What if I could get him for you right now?" says a voice from Mike's body. "That just pissed me off worse. I've been running under the assumption he's buried deep enough you can't get him," Pie states, the pressure building Mike in one eye. "Just making sure," the voice says from Mike's form, this time not attempting to hide its cadence. Pie's eyes widen as the clown's feet hit the floor. With one step, Pie knows who he's dealing with. The body language, the slight change in facial features. He's no longer talking with some misguided performer. He's talking with yours truly. Michael, my boy, we share this conveyance. Keep up on repairs, will you? I say, and with a trivial brush of my hands, repair the most fatal damage to our body. And you, jacket and shirt, now. At that moment, there is a battle of wills between myself and Pi. Looking at it, you wouldn't notice at first. No object starting to rattle, no stressed out looks on our faces, just two seemingly normal people casually watching each other. But eventually, the tide begins to turn. Pi begins to show fear, then pleads as the tips of his fingers begin to rot and fall to the ground as black ash. He gives up the fight and the struggles to remove and offer his clothing. I take it. The slow creeping of rot of this part of his form being destroyed keeps traveling up his limbs. Keep in mind, you haven't left me much of a choice here. There are always a lot of ways Michael could die that would leave me as the sole owner of this beat-up lemon of a body. But being pulped, I can't really work with that, can I? As I talk, Pi hits the ground, footless, shoes falling to either side. I'll take those loafers as well, actually. In fact, I'm going to be taking a lot from you. Michael wants to get home, and I want to... Well, I won't bore you with the details. Suffice to say, neither of us can do it with our current resources. I walk around Pi as I talk. He's little more than a torso and a head. Anything you want, just please stop, Pi begs. Good to hear that. You've stuck your dick in the hornet's nest, Pi. Now, I'll let you keep it. Mutilated as it might be now, but I need you to do something for me. I need you to be a symbol. I need you to be something that is going to make the children of the void listen to Michael. I'm going to implant the memory of a noble, hard-fought battle between the two of you. You patched him up out of fear, he brought you down with the gumption of fortitude. Your job is to be a living reminder of this, something that will avoid him questioning the absurdity of coming up against a demon and winning because of a fancy truncheon. If you're thinking of betraying me, just remember, I may not always be here, but I'm always watching, Pi, I say. Mike doesn't miss a beat. He's panting, sweating, and looking every bit the part of someone who just fought a demon. The limbless demon in front of him, seemingly helpless, erases strange feelings Mike may have had about the situation. I don't like to give Michael much credit, but his plan was more than simply to throw himself at Pi. That was simply the most difficult aspect. He roughly tapes an old steel microphone to the demon's head, muttering threats and curses. It's connected to the warehouse's PA system. He picks up the limbless evil and opens the other door to the office, walking out on an iron catwalk. Michael throws the body down onto the rough iron platform, the weight causing a concerning vibrating noise. For a moment, Mike takes in the scene below. The absolute senselessness of it, the waste of life, of power. This pisses him off. He thinks of how much good everything down there could do, how many problems they could solve. The demon wails as Mike begins to strike him with the cane. As fake as it is, the horrific scream amplified by the PA catches the attention of the crowd. Dozens of confused faces, man, creature, and other looking towards Michael. The mutilated form at his feet speaking more than he could. Mike rips the microphone from Pi's face, theatrically tapping it, sending a blot of squealing static through the PA. Some people say that just because you killed Jesse James doesn't make you Jesse James. Anyone with that opinion here today? The clown challenges. Some mumbling from the crowd, but no one speaks. Good. Anyone that wants to get out, by all means leave, whatever you are. But I think everyone here is here for a reason. There are big things coming down the pipe. Things that make this stub that's been making everyone's life hell look like a schoolyard bully. Mike begins, kicking Pi for good measure. Seems like everyone has been giving you bits and pieces of the story. It's because most don't know, and the rest, they're looking to make some kind of gains with it. Mike walks down the rusted catwalk to the floor as he talks. Internally, every muscle is screaming at him to run out the door. I'll give you the truth, but the problem is, it's useless without some way to put it to use. That's going to require bodies, it's going to require things, and most importantly, reputation. We're going to make a name for ourselves, and once we have a voice, we're using it. Mike opens his offer, standing in the middle of a blood-soaked crowd that minutes before were at each other's throats. Believing you understand Michael is a dangerous thing, while the man is most certainly cognizant. His mind has been twisted to the point of lunacy. What makes this so dangerous is that he has the lunatic zeal, that charisma that can sway hearts and minds. So for the next 2 hours, Michael tells the motley crew of half-dead humans and entities everything he knows about the nature of reality. They hang on his every word. He talks of a universe segmented into 9 corners, creatures from the places in between, capable of devouring gods, the void itself being damaged, all kinds of horror and wonder. Some information is true, some is believed falsehoods, and yet more are crafted lies, designed to give his information more weight. But by the end, by the time his throat bleeds from the volume instead of trauma, those left believe. And here is where I'd like to try to explain something. I've been reading along just as much as you have. For those wondering, anyone I don't want seeing this is most certainly not seeing this. And I understand something. Right now, you are feeling the same kind of thing the directionless cloud is. You see what Michael is doing, and you see it as some kind of fix to your little puppet friend's problem. Let me offer a differing perspective, hypocritical as it may be. What you're observing is a passionate lunatic with nearly no information gaining control of a very dangerous and disproportionately powerful group. Take it from someone who's been around a long time. This is seldom a good thing. I've seen witch trials, the Crusades, and the Satanic Panic, and they all started the same way. There comes a point where intent no longer matters, and you know what they say about the road to hell. Yours truly, Demi. Want me to start off by talking about what it's like to be in a siege? I don't need to. It's exactly what you would expect. Sorry, things are getting a bit tense here these past few weeks. It's why I haven't been able to get back to you guys in so long. Just surviving has turned into a full-time job. Sveta, Leo, and JP tried calling the bishop's bluff, walking out like everything was normal. There wasn't any landmines or invisible assassins, but everywhere they went they saw them, agents of the bishop. Once these career cultists figured out my friend's patterns, things got difficult. If they shopped at a store, some clerk would wind up hurt the next day. If they took the same street more than once, sure enough, a rogue roofing nail would find its way into their tire. The bishop and his goons found ways of making sure we knew the consequences of trying to ignore him. He set the rules for the game he wanted to play, and had no problems letting us know it was rigged in his favor. And that's what things felt like at first. A sadistic game. The bishop wanted to see what we were capable of, test us. Me, I don't need to worry about food. Neither does Hive, and Kaz doesn't have to worry about food anytime soon. JP has a decent amount of supplies stored, but split between 3 people, it's not going to last. Fuck, JP exclaims. What is it now? Leo says annoyed. Not now, Jesus Christ. Since the start of this shit. I've been wondering how they've managed to keep such a low profile. I mean, there's must be dozens of cars on the street. They've tapped into my network using my own goddamn hard work against me, JP says, hitting his fist against a red oak table. Easy, Sveta says. And in English if possible, Kaz adds. JP sighs before starting. They don't need any kind of finesse. Just someone void-touched enough they can burn themselves out overclocking my wards. With the kind of network the bishop is involved in, they will never run out of fodder. These bastards are just going to keep bringing people in until they could have a parade without anyone so much as glancing in their directions. And the only solution is to take down my wards. At which point, they just fuck off and make a call to the cops. Half of us get arrested, and half of us wind up in some government black site, Leo finishes. That's about it, JP confirms. Any ideas from your end of things? Sveta asks Hive. Good lady, I would leave this situation and retrieve my companion in a second if I could. No offense intended, Hive responds. Fuck your companion, Leo challenges. Easy, Kaz says, ready to step between the two. That was not Flap on the phone. It's the bishop or one of his minions playing us against each other, Hive asserts. You know what's worse than a demon? Sorry, malignant. One who thinks he's some kind of nice guy. That's the stupid bastard that gets everyone killed. Leo stares the small toy-like malignant down. How nice do you think I feel right now? Trapped in a hovel with a slayer, his minion, and the minion's mate? I can forgive you for forgetting what you're talking to, but remember who you're talking to, Hive says, the air around him taking on a sinister fog-like appearance. I'm talking to a... Leo begins. He's cut off by a sharp whistle. It's enough that I have to smell all of the testosterone since the water stopped running, but I'll be damned if I'm dealing with it. Leo, brooding every time we figure something out isn't helping. Keep that Batman shit in check. Sweetheart, I love you, but maybe instead of just screaming fuck, wait till you have an idea before mentioning the newest turd in the punch bowl. Hive, I don't know if your friend is with us or against us, but it's not going to matter unless we get out of this. Next time you do that Dracula shit in my house, though, you can walk right out that front door, Sveta states with no room for argument. She puts the situation into perspective for the moment at least. I'm taking a piss, Leo says sullenly, walking upstairs. The toilet doesn't flush, JP replies. I know, is Leo's answer. We're gonna have to start using the chemical toilet sooner or later, JP says, more to himself than the hero. Punch, how comfortable are you with trying to get out of here? I think out of all of us, you're the best suited to it, Sveta asks. I could maybe get some food or whatnot, not that I can carry much. But I don't know how good I'm going to be with getting help. I'm still controlled by my creator's plan. Sneaking away some leftovers? Doable. But I make myself known to the wrong person. Either them or I am having a terrible night, I offer. Better than nothing. Kaz, you guys shapeshift a little, right? Sveta inquires. In my younger days, I'd give a mimic a run for its money, but those were long ago. Still, given enough shadow, I think these old joints can pull a trick or two, Kaz replies. Seems like we're getting somewhere, Hive says optimistically. Son of a bitch! Leo screams from upstairs. This is soon followed by pistol shots and the hero backing out of the bathroom. A half-dozen probing insect-like appendages, colored a sick, deep purple, whip and scrabble at the doorframe. Leo empties the clip into the mass. From somewhere deep within the pipes, there's a high-pitched scream. The clawing, seeking limbs retreat. Leo pulls the door shut, and there's a slight smell of ozone as a ward enacts. Fuck, they're starting with that shit already? This place is made to be cordoned off, but I don't like where things are headed. I was expecting this kind of breach in months, not weeks, JP laments. If I went through every day in detail, this would be hundreds of pages long. Now, if all of that would be interesting, I'd be the first doll to let you in on things. But unfortunately, war is long periods of boredom, punctuated by brief moments of absolute horror. And as the days grind on, I realize that's what this is, a war. We fall into a routine, checking the house for anything new and dangerous, cataloging the growing number of Bishop's agents, and for me, trying to top up our dwindling food supply. My end of things is getting difficult. The Bishop's pawns seem to be figuring out ways to track me. Each time I leave, they learn more, get closer to finding me. But we ration. We close off rooms, and we drag out this war of attrition. We're down to 3 usable rooms in the house: the living room, the kitchen, and JP's workshop in the basement. Everywhere else is infested with some kind of horror. Scuttling beetle-like things whispering secret no one wants to hear, a smell bad enough to cause nosebleeds, and a soft, almost childlike voice that kept trying to get one of us to enter the attic. Not the only new hazards we've had to cage in, but the more interesting ones anyway. The sentient mind can learn to deal with a lot, and as the days turned to weeks, the fiery clashes between us had burned down to smoldering anger. We sit in the living room going over a promising plan involving a friend of JP's who has a predictable annual route through the country. If we can hold out another 10 days, he'll be passing through. The television, useless since the power went out, suddenly turns on. The image is grainy, the sound warped, but we see the bishop, vile grin on his twisted face. I can't really describe the place he's standing in other than it looked like a house. Well kept, probably had kids, but other than that, could be any living room in any suburb in North America. "How's it going, fellas?" the evil old light begins. "You seem to be a little down lately. Makes me think you're getting bored." Leo goes red and looks like he's going to spring to his feet. JP puts up a hand. "He can't hear us. Don't waste your energy. These bastards are in deep, but not that deep," JP assures the hero. "So I've decided to play a little game with you," the bishop says, walking backwards from the camera, 3 figures into the room. To say they looked familiar would be an understatement. It was Leo, Sveta, and JP. Hell, one of them was even carrying a damn fine copy of myself. Obviously, anyone with enough skill could create a non-functional replica of myself. In fact, a couple of people have. Awesome work, guys. But seeing the just off of perfect replicas of my friends is scary as hell. If you just want to sit in your hole, we're going to take that out on your neighbors. The bishop starts as the 3 imposters fan out into the house. And to make things interesting, eventually, I'll let these tapes get out online. See how long you last with the law kicking down your door. I won't make things unfair. I'll stay out of the game. Just you and my congregation. The bishop's grins, walking out of the home amused with the situation he set up. Sounds of struggle and violence emanate from within the house. "I've got it," I say, breaking the grim silence. No one challenges me, but I don't see much confidence. "It's a trap," Leo says simply, collapsing into the couch. "Anyone else here able to be undetectable?" I ask sarcastically. "Undetectable is a pretty strong claim, Punch," Sveta replies. "I know, but do we have any other options? They'll see Kaz coming a mile away. Same with Leo. Hive isn't exactly at full strength. And no offense, but JP and yourself are just human." My grim overview hits home. We try and ignore the situation. We knew things like this were going to happen, and it's obvious ploy to break the stalemate we've created. But with every hour, the carnage done in the name of getting us is displayed on another screen. "Want to know something interesting, Punch?" Leo says after a sheet we tried to put over the living room television started to smolder. "Things are a little too interesting lately, Leo," I answer. "I'll tell you anyway. A lot of folks think people like myself are affiliated with one religion or another. Some of us lean into it, but truth be told, we're just about the biggest examples possible of take what you want and leave the rest. At the end of the day, though, what happens after you've really died is a mystery. That being said, with all the other different perspectives, human, supernatural, and other, one thing seems universal," Leo leads. "Don't, Leo," Kaz says, clearly knowing where this is going. "I'm not doing anything. I'm giving him information. Sacrifice is like poison to the worst things out there is all I'm saying. If all you're going to be left with is a patched up, mangled soul when the lights go out, you probably want to be an unappetizing meal. Leo lets the statement hang. It's not like I don't feel manipulated. I get what Leo is doing. But seeing as no one in our supernaturally inclined group is refuting him, it doesn't seem like he's lying either. I've said this before, but I want to do so again. I read the comments. I love to get a sense of what you guys are thinking, how you feel about me and what I do. From what I've seen, you guys love when I win, and when I do the right thing, in that order. No judgment, you're here for the creepy things, and I'm a creepy thing. But unfortunately, while I made it to the door of the house the bishop's agents were in, I didn't win. And while I tried, I wasn't successful in doing the right thing. One thing I struggle with writing these updates is to not make things come across as some kind of adventure. I don't want any of you seeking out the kind of terror I have to deal with on a daily basis. We're not superheroes. Hell, our hero is a manipulative, self-centered, myopic giant with short man syndrome. We're all just caught up in something beyond us. But right now, I'm not going to have to struggle. I didn't slip in unnoticed and slay a trio of clones. I walked into a trap and paid the consequences. Catching someone off guard is what saved us. Up until now, we'd had a grim situations, but ones where we were an unknown quantity. The element of surprise is a hell of an advantage. But the three simulacra saw me coming a mile away. They knew what they were dealing with. I try and fight, but they've done this before. They understand how I move. They see beyond the protection of the eye. Whatever they aren't that much stronger than a person, but each blow lands somewhere that destroys it or disables me. Each one wielding shop tools like knife fighters. The family screams from within the house, having endured their own torments in the name of Bishop's sick game. I try to use the shame of failing them or the sick glee of their suffering to push forward, but it doesn't work. I resign myself going down to fight, hoping that if there's something waiting after I die, it'll see that I tried. But I don't get that cold comfort, that possible light at the end of the tunnel, my deserved rest. As the trio bash and prod, saw and snap, I realize they aren't intending on killing me outright. They crack my metallic skull open, bending one razor-sharp frond to a 45-degree angle. The one mimicking JP swaps out his metalworker's hammer for a set of surgeon's tools. I scream as much as I can, but his blades start to tear and flints. As this happens, I feel something. Not the dull, emulated pain of this stunted body, but real pain. What's left of my body screaming at me that things are being destroyed. As the doppelganger does his vile work, I start to feel weak. My vision begins to blur. My consciousness begins to fade in and out. I'm picked up, held by one leg casually. One of the doppelgangers slowly walks down the street, me in tow. I see JP's house. Him and Leo stand in the doorway. Leo wants to kill the thing holding me. When I come to next, my friends are looking shocked, standing above me, having a serious conversation I can't make out. It's dark for a long time. I'm alone with my thoughts, a small pinpoint of consciousness in a place between unlife and death. They wounded me, hurt me, to cause more problems and conflict. The bishop knows that he could kill us all anytime he wants to. He wants to break us. I see Leo's face. He's looking grim. My vision is distorted enough I can't make out what's going on, but I know they've opened my skull. "Are you sure about this?" JP asks Leo. "I'm sure it'll work," Leo replies. He grabs the damaged remaining flesh of my head, broken plates of skull and jaw barely attached to wires that skirt the line of flesh and steel. At first I think he's just giving me the mercy the doppelgangers wouldn't, and I don't blame him. In fact, I'm relieved. Then, the metallic skull case closes. I'm soaked. I hear Leo screaming, and I feel hungry. If there was one bit of mercy I was shown, it's that I don't remember what I did with the hand. The answer is obvious, but not having a first-person view was a blessing. When I wake up 2 days later, I'm patched up in a pretty haphazard manner. The damaged frond has been removed. My joints hitch and grind a bit, but at least I'm no longer near death. Punch, Kaz says. I notice he's looking a bit thin. I hoped it was some kind of fever dream, but I see Leo's hand, or lack thereof. The bandaging looks nearly professional, though the hero is clearly in pain. Leo, I'd have thought you'd have done your Ash Williams thing by now. You know, the leg, the eye, I say, trying to break the tension. The room is silent. Everyone is happy to see I'm alive, but things are taking their toll. You'd be right if I lost it, but I gave it away. Leo has no malice in his tone. I feel like shit anyway. The bishop continues to give us a 24-hour stream of him and his congregation terrorizing those around us. Not everything is torture and death. They'd run out of houses pretty quickly if it was. But they managed to keep the neighborhood from sleeping in some way, shape, or form every minute of every day. And the worst part is that the bishop uses the wards to isolate, to pigeonhole. Each family thinks they are the only ones going through a horror film, each too worried about seeming insane to take it beyond this soured suburb. The congregation has worked the wards enough they can stand outside their cars at night now. Dozens of human and just off of human forms, watching, waiting. Days pass slowly. The ever-growing ring of increasingly bold cultists makes us all paranoid. And as of late, there is a strange, wet thumping noise coming from within the walls of the house. Food is run down to scraps, and a conversation about our next move between JP and Leo turns from lively to spirited to an argument in a flash. The two men stand in the kitchen doorway near the front hallway. Holy shit, I lost my hand. I don't remember you losing your balls, though. We have to go shock and awe. Round up everything in here, pick a weak point in the line and push through. I'll take my chances getting caught by the feds at this point. I've still got some connections, Leo yells. For fuck's sakes, it's not a matter of balls. What we are doing is working. It's why he's trying so hard. Sooner or later, we're going to be more trouble than we're worth and he'll give up. We fight, we lose. It's a math situation. Even if everyone out there is just some asshole with a .38, we're dead, is JP's equally loud reply. This conversation goes on for a while, and I start to get lost in my own thoughts. I start to think about how, in a lot of ways, this is my fault. Or at least the scale of it is. If I wasn't in the picture, maybe Leo would be dead, but it seems like that would have been the end of things. The bishop would do whatever he was going to do anyway. By trying to save Leo, I've just dragged JP, Kaz, Hive, this neighborhood, and everyone else into things. I didn't make this situation, but it sure as hell seems like I made it worse. I see everyone focused on the brewing one-sided fistfight, and my self-pity forces me to make a quick decision. I sneak to the front door unnoticed. My intent is to pick a direction and run. If worse comes to worse, at least it's only me who suffers. I open it just enough to get out, the volume of the argument masking the noise. Before I take my first step, I notice something odd. A few splinters of wood ping off of my metal skull. I haven't stepped foot outside the door when I noticed the argument had gone completely one-sided. I turn and see JP, pale as a sheet, clutching his chest. Blood oozes from between his fingers. The second shot, likely intended for Leo, goes wild, putting a small hole in the plaster behind him. Free of the screaming of two grown men, I hear a faint crack in the distance. The third, though, finds its mark. It strikes just below JP's hands, severing a finger and blowing a piece from his heart. The Graysmith hits the wall, then the floor. Leo dives into the living room, screaming at everyone else to do the same. Shocked, I try to close the door. I feel like an idiot. This is such an obvious thing. Keep it open, Sveta says, staring out into the dark night. She sniffs and looks into the distance with a 1,000-yard stare. Get the fuck down, sniper! Leo screams at her. She doesn't do what he asks, even as a 4-shot tears a small furrow of flesh from the side of her head. Sveta begins to unbutton her shirt slowly, without a hint of fear, shame, or embarrassment. Get down, woman! You'll have plenty of time to grieve later, Kaz yells, getting ready to run and grab her. The sniper fires around at Sveta's feet, clearly more interested in causing fear than death. In a few moments, she stands naked. Disrobed, I see her body is covered in tattoos and brands of all forms. Runes from Nordic to Hebrew and everything in between cover every inch other than her hands and face. She walks into the gunfire, the small caliber weapon spraying her with shrapnel or grazing her. Large slashes, almost like rips, begin to appear on her body as she starts to jog, then run. Flesh begins to fall like autumn leaves, thick, shining black fur taking its place. In the space of a few strides, she stands in the front yard. Is that a... Kaz begins. It certainly fucking is, one of 2 left, Leo says, almost mystified. JP coughs, spraying the front of his shirt with blood. He slaps the wall beside him to get our attention. We stand around him as wet, cracking and tearing noises come from the front yard. She needs to... JP coughs, more blood, a tremor running through his body. Survive this. I've got a duty too, and Willy Wonka here is probably related, so he has to, Leo says with a smile that can't reach his eyes. But you'll be able to see it yourself. Do you know how many chest wounds I've seen folks pull through from? You already used the Willy Wonka line, JP says, laughing, then coughing. And no, I won't. I can't feel my legs, but I can feel the fact my heart has a piece missing. She's been through too much to get killed by some pissing contest. Promise me, all of you. We do, but by the time we get to me, JP won the debate on his health. And this is where I'm going to leave things for the moment. Now, more than ever, I don't know if there will be any more. The siege was one thing, but now, at a moment's notice, it looks like we're going to have to go to war. Fuck, I wish we had an army. Till next time, if there is one, stay watchful. Punch. Hello everyone. So if you're wondering why I am wearing a totally different shirt than I am in the rest of the video, it is because this is a totally different day. This is like weeks and weeks later. I've had technical issue after technical issue, and I lost the last part of this video. So if you listen to the podcast side of things, then you will get a different ending for this episode. But for now, for the video, this is the ending. So yeah, there are at least 3 or 4 more parts of this story. At some point we will try to finish out the story. I'm also doing other things, as in, on our second channel, I am also playing games, and so is Mo. She's got games of her own that she's going to be playing. But anyways, hope you've enjoyed the rest of this story, and hopefully soon we'll get back to our regular time of uploads, about every Friday-ish, Saturday. I say a lot, I'm sorry. But yeah, so that is going to be it for this video, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching and listening. Please tell your friends, subscribe, follow us on the podcast things, and see you next time. Bye bye.